this is the basis of many of the things that I'm still doing, I think. And I think it's still important, spirituality in my life. The characters, the opera roles that have been spiritually connected have been more enhanced and profound because of that
Really?
reason.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
It's good to meet you. Thank you.
So where are you based exactly?
Well, kind of a three-base situation. I have a residence in Toronto, Ontario, with my wife Dawn, and there's a sort of a studio of sorts I have in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's just about a half block from the Lake Erie, which is sort of nice. And here we are in Tampa with Dawn, my wife, doing the wigs and makeup for Opera Tampa. So I joined her here, and I've done a number of performances here. Actually, I started when the Opera Center, the Performing Arts Center opened. I actually came in from New York City with the New York City Opera, and we started the whole thing out with Julius Rudel conducting sort of the Bohème Momus, the scene from the It was quite an interesting experience. And it's many years after that. Now it's still going, called the Straz Center.
Okay, so you were involved in starting this center.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And what was the idea? Why did you want to get that going?
With the performing of the Arts Center?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were at New York City Opera. I think there was probably a connection between New York City Opera. At the time I was under the head director, the general director was Beverly Sills. So we were all sort of employed to come down. You say Julius Rudel conducting. I remember John Garrison was the tenor. Maybe Faith Esham, soprano. I'm trying to think of all the people in there, and that troupe that were there. Sort of the very important, singers from New York City Opera. And then they had other people coming in, I think, from other areas. But I think New York City Opera had a good connection to the Performing Arts Center for some reason. So that's why we did it.
Well, America is such a big country, and I mean, distance, that's always the thing, isn't it? So right. You have to bring then the opera to the people in that way.
Right, yeah.
So how much do you, when you start a project like that, you need to have sponsors? Because this is something in America that I've heard a lot, and it's different than in Europe, where you really need private sponsors to do projects like that.
Yeah, I think that's true. The funding that took place in order to build the Art Center was probably certainly from more private contributions than from the government. So we get all those people together, and the links that come from them to the performers and whatnot to make such a fantastic opening and a celebration of the commemoration of this an art center. Yeah, unnecessary.
Well, Mark, tell me your career, or let's start where it all started for you as a child. Did you play an instrument?
Not necessarily. When I was coming up, I had wanted to possibly play the trumpet, but I think my sister was actually taking in school, which was elementary school, the flute. And so I thought, well, let your teacher know that I would like to take the trumpet. And he said, well, he will be able to take this instrument when he goes to high school or junior high school, and there's probably a better time. So this is now an opportunity that gets lost because I then go into sports when I go into junior high school and high school. One of the very famous high schools in Cleveland, Ohio, which was where Jesse Owens actually attended. This wonderful, 4 gold medal winner from Berlin. So it's quite a famous place for track and field, but I was also doing other things. I did basketball, I did baseball, I did
Oh,
cross
okay.
running, and also tennis. So those are sort of the things that took place that became more important in some ways than trying to pursue a little bit of music. It was only until I tried to basically accelerate my program so that I could graduate from school a bit early, though late, because I had been dropped back some grades. They said, well, maybe you can take some extra credits and get out of your high school maybe around the right time. So that was offered then to me from the counselor music chorus. The chorus was the extra credit.
Wow.
And also drama. Drama was also a credit that you could take that would get you, more possibilities of accelerating and getting out faster. So I took those two, and then the chorus director said that they were doing well. First, the Metropolitan Opera. She said they were doing Metropolitan Opera on tour at the music hall, a very big music hall in downtown Cleveland. It was actually one of the last tours of the Metropolitan Opera. So I was able to do a supernumerary, which paid me $8, which at the time I didn't
Really?
really care.
Yeah.
And I actually went on stage because they say you may not go on stage. I went on stage. James Levine was conducting. I saw a program after the fact from was what Gilda Cruz Romo, I think, was singing, probably Gilda. Mignon Dunn was doing Amneris, and I think James McCracken was Radames. As I said, Jerome Himes was a Ramphis, and Cornell McNeil would have been the Amanazro. So it was quite an incredible thing. And I still remember going on stage and going into the streets and singing as much as I could. I'm an opera singer now. And I have my $8 in my hand. So that was very exciting. And this came from my chorus director because I had expressed some interest in a movie that where a baritone broke a glass, with his voice, bang.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I must know what this song is. I must work on it. And the chorus director, she said, I don't know what it was. Go to the library, ask them some questions. Maybe they can tell you something. And they couldn't tell me anything in the library. And so later on, I realized it was Lawrence Tibbett who was actually singing the Toreador and the Toreador song with a bang, and he broke this glass. I thought, wow. So this was quite important because now I've sung Escamillo. I've done it 123 times, singing La Scala in Chicago, San Francisco.
Amazing.
Pretty much Verona, I sang it. So it was, very poignant. Sometimes coincidence, these things happen like this.
Yeah.
This comes to fruition. So it was
Yeah.
very.
So
I thought,
you started singing actually then quite late.
it would have been quite late, yes.
Yeah.
My friend, brother Hugh Henderson, he was in the Society of the Precious Blood, the Catholic, order, and he had encouraged me to go into the seminary. But with him in church, I would sing a little bit. I remember I sang the Ave Maria, Schubert's Ave Maria, for a funeral. He said, "Oh, how about you? Could you sing this?" I'd done a few things, maybe for him at the piano or the organ. And so I sang that, and it was somewhat of a disaster for the poor man whose mother had passed away. He says, "Oh, maybe you should tell him that he should not pursue a career in singing.
Really?
Maybe it was a bit off key, and my big things are not so great." So this was the first experience. But again, when I said the high school was, I was around 18. That I did the Godspell was the musical that the drama teacher said, we're doing a musical and I hear you are in chorus. Would you like to join us and do this Godspell? Then, also because I was going to the seminary, it was quite important for me spiritually, maybe religiously, that I would do this. And so I sang coming down the aisle of my high school, East Technical High School. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. So it's John the Baptist, which is then Yohanan, which I sang at La Scala, which is probably my biggest success, I think. That I then go back and say, my gosh, I sang, this John the Baptist in a way coming down the aisle of my high school. So it was a bit. My friend brother Hugh had taught me to play a scale on the piano, a C scale with one hand. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, mi, re, do. This is all I could do musically as far as the technical abilities. But before I left undergraduate, which was my seminary at St. Joseph's College in Rensselaer, Indiana. It's a regular school with 1,000 students, but there were then 25 seminarians who were studying for the priesthood. I think one was probably become a brother. From that place, the secular students, we'd have lunch, but basically we had morning prayer, we had the daily mass, we had evening prayer, and then then we go to the classes with the regular students. So this was the experience, and I took music, I took voice, because I thought, well, then I would enhance my ministry with this training. I think before this is quite important. Before I left for the seminary, after Godspell, my last year in high school, there was a program in Cleveland, Ohio, for the first time ever to perform participate in the arts. So they had a summer program. I would usually do janitorial work. I would clean things, whatnot in the schools. So this program then allowed us to learn dance, acting, and singing. They brought people in from New York. There was a director from New York, a singer from New York, a singing coach. So we did the types of exercises and acting exercises and dance exercises, and then we put on a production in the summer. That summer, about 20, maybe 20, 30 performances. I can't remember the exact number of The Wiz That Is. So it was not The Wiz. It was not The Wizard of Oz. It was an original adaptation of Frank Baum's The Wizard of Oz. And they did different casting to make it work. And they said, well, my voice projected well. I'd taken hardly any lessons, but so they cast me as Daniel Gale from Kansas, which is not Dorothy Gale. It's the sort of the lead kind of singer.
Oh, yeah.
And then the wizard was an African American female. She was very petite. But so we had, and my dog was a 6 foot tall Polish man.
Okay.
On his 4 he was walking around.
Yeah.
It was quite an interracial, interdenominational sort of a experience of diversity, and we put on a very good show, original music that was done, and I remember very much inside yourself. There's a world full of laughter and fun. So it's very, individual and, as I said, very much original sort of music. It's nothing like, Judy Garland, singing it.
Okay, yeah. But amazing that you didn't have any singing lessons up to then.
It's somewhat. I mean, the chorus was very helpful. Because you do basics exercises when you warm up for the chorus songs that we did when I was in my last year of school. I always was stuck in front of the television watching some of the Mario Lanza movies. So always makes inspiration, which I know many people have said, oh, Mario Lanza was the inspiration for so many opera singers to start out their careers. And so, I mean, but my voice was a lower one. I didn't realize at the time, but then I'm going up singing the Mario songs. And so I get to undergraduate, I'm singing now in the tenor section. And so tune, wrong technique. But in this whiz that is, I was in the right tessitura. I was right. It was actually starting out in the best way because there was not a lot of strain. It was only after that I started sort of pushing up. I sang the Padre in the first year at St. Joseph's College. I'm in this Catholic seminary. They wanted me to do Sancho Panza. And I said, no, I want to do the Padre because I'm in the seminary. I want to be typecast. I said, okay, we'll give you the Padre then. So it was nice because I was taking Latin at the time. And, the Padre says, De profundis amorate, Domine, Domine. So this whole thing is like, I guess I'm singing a wonderful, Gregorian chant in this musical of La Man of La Mancha. So the tuning was still a little, not necessarily difficult, but just the vocal presentation. So it was only the second year in undergraduate, still in the seminary, that I had a baritone teacher whose name was Dan van der Linden. And he said, you're a baritone, bass baritone, but you're not a tenor. So get out of the tenor section and sing in the right, voice you should be singing. So that was the biggest transition I would make to the voice that I have now. So it was very important. And the people that came after him, also Bariton tenor, who had been studying tenor, says also the same thing. Yes, sing this sarastro, sing this piece here. And I think it had been given by the music director, the head of the department at St. Joseph's College. Says, "Oh." The teacher said, "I'm doing. They have this singer. I don't know what to do with him. I've never taught someone this kind of caliber." He said, "Well, here,
Really?
two arias. Here." He gave her two arias for me to look at and work on, which was Non Piangerai, the Nozze di Figaro, and the Leporello, Maramina. And I thought, oh, okay, but I was not anywhere close to being ready to sing those pieces at the time. So I went on to did other pieces that were very simple. Now, obviously, I came back to those because now I've sung those repertoire on the stage, but I sung that repertoire. But it was, a very interesting process to get to where I needed to go. So the teacher, then I did with that's Valparaiso University, so in Chicago, that I took after my Dan van der Linden left. He was Joseph McCall. From him, I actually went before to Dan van der Linden's teacher, who was Dorothy Lindenkrieg. These wonderful connections. She had me sing the Sarastro aria. She said, "Oh my gosh, I hit the low. Oh my gosh, I hit the lower F." She said, "Oh, we have to do something." So I entered the Metropolitan Opera competition. The third year, junior year, and I won the district. They sent me to Chicago for the regional. This is my second competition I ever entered, So
amazing. But this whole story is me so fascinating because it's really it's like you were on water and just flowing and just going all these places, and it's just from one thing to another. Did you ever think when you were little, when you were a little boy, that you would become an opera singer? I mean, you said you listened to the music, but was there some way, a little dream in you to become a singer?
I think maybe a little bit. Maybe it was the fifth grade, and this is before then I started sports. Again, I told you that I was looking at the trumpet playing. And so even before that, maybe fifth grade, I think, they're doing a spring concert. And, they do sometimes music, and we have little music classes. And so the music teacher said to me, "So I want you to sing something for me." And she probably did maybe a little line, and I sang the next line after. And it was the Wells Fargo Wagon solo from The Music Man. "Oh, the Wells Fargo wagon is coming down the street." She said, "Oh, that's beautiful. You could go to New York right now and make a lot of money." I said, "Oh, my God, that was scary." And then it didn't even sing after that. I didn't sing anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was very frightening, I think, to think about something I had done before. So this was the
parents, and your parents, did they were they at all were they singers, or did they play instruments? Do you come from a musical family?
Well, not at all. I think my mother, maybe she took some piano lessons a little bit at one time, but nothing that was extensive. So I didn't get anything really from her. My father had a very, very deep voice, but I don't think I ever heard him sing anything really. My grandmother did sing a bit in church, and so she would sing some spiritual, "Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me." So I remember the songs that she would sing a little bit, and my mother would sing a little bit of that same song. So there was very little. I think just only sitting in front of the television, watching a Metropolitan Opera broadcasts, maybe. I remember because I've sung Spada Fucile and I just did Rigoletto. I remember, I think, sitting in front of the television watching a production from the Metropolitan Opera of that opera. I know why that comes to me. It was that opera, but I'm pretty sure because I have visuals as only a 5-6-year-old watching these things in the Mario Lanza movies that made me think, "Oh, Jesus is wonderful." Very glamorous. I don't know. Singing was something. Oh, and we also did, the Michael Jackson things when I was coming up. We did something lip syncing. You would do to little competitions. So there was the Temptations, the Four Tops, and the Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5. So they were all sort of things we would kind of sing a little bit in school, and we give the idea that maybe, oh, geez, this is really interesting music. It's fun to sing. It was the pop music of the time. So anyway, that was that's my.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you ended up then in New York?
With New York, this did not happen until, let's say, I went to graduate school after in the St. Joseph's College because I dropped from the seminary in my third year. My second teacher said to me, he says, you could possibly be a professional singer if you decide not to become a Catholic priest and to maybe work on your musicianship, he said, because obviously I had not done very many things before then. So it would take a lot of extra study. So from there, I went to Indiana University. I auditioned for them, and my head of the department at St. Joe's had gone to Indiana. He had his doctorate from Indiana University. He had supposedly the second best sight reader in the country because he was quite an incredible pianist. I don't know who the first one was, but that's what he proclaimed himself. So anyway, I did go to Indiana for graduate school. In my undergraduate, I started in math because I was very good in math in school, but it was not the right math. It was not advanced. So I learned that quickly that it was not the right track. I went to sociology because I thought this would be helpful for my ministry, for something I did not know enough about, how people act in groups. I love psychology. I love philosophy, and I would take theology because that would be a part of the coursework for the study of the priesthood. So I took sociology for that reason, and so I still was not convinced that music would be the path that I would take. So
Really?
I took my graduate exams in sociology, not music. So, and I think I placed okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, maybe I would be a singing social worker. I thought I don't know what I was going to do. So I placed okay. I didn't apply to the schools yet in sociology, so I did go to Indiana University and the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, where William Warfield was teaching at the time. So, and I was going to go to Cincinnati Conservatory. Again, this is the path that my head of the department at St. Joseph's College had gone because he had his undergraduate at the University Conservatory in Cincinnati. It's a very important, I think, conservatory. And Indiana University has said he has his doctorate, as well as his wife. His wife had a master's degree from Indiana University. She was actually my piano teacher. I took piano from both of them. It's very quite different piano from one to the other. So, and interesting, I think I said by the time I left undergraduate, I was doing charity exercises. I was doing scales up and down with the piano. Oh, we know who that is in the practice room because it's DOS. He's going, and I think, again, without having the knowledge of pre things, I was not able to sight read so well. So my teacher said, you play these scales so incredibly well. You should be playing piano better. I said, well, yeah, I know. But then I took an organ next. And maybe because I then increased the range of my concentration with the pedals and whatnot, then my piano playing got better. And they were quite different.
Why did you take piano lessons? What was it about the piano then?
Well, initially, even my first year, the freshman year, I took piano because it was something that, as a music minor, I took a music minor to begin with. I had math. I left math, went to sociology major, music minor. I kept music as the minor. And then because I was doing these successful things, the teacher, he said to me, you are doing these creative things like drama and music. Why don't you switch your major? Why are you doing these other things like, sociology and whatnot? So I said, well, I'm in the seminary and I need these things for my ministry. So what happened was I continued sociology, but then I took more music classes as well. And I became with a double major. So I finished with a degree in music and sociology. And I took a lot of courses in Latin, as much as they could take, because they offered Latin that I should take for the seminary. So I just continued to take as much as possible. So that helped the languages. And then the music became better with, again, piano and other things. I mean, composition, I had to take different types of improvisational things that were a little bit more advanced for me because, again, I was coming from such a lower level of musical background. But I finished with the degree, and I think it was very helpful. Solfeggio was something that I introduced because I had found it in my studies, because I do a lot of reading, and I even gave that to my teacher, who was my second piano teacher. The husband was the sight reader, the second best in the world. So you do lessons with him. He put music in front of you. You sing it once, you play it once, He threw it away. You never see it again. Next music, you never see it again. So, okay, he puts notes on it and that's it. With her, I would work on a piece for maybe an entire semester, 2 or 3 pieces. So we constantly go over it and refine it and refine it. So they're quite different in the way they approached the musical, compositions. But yeah. So
but
at
now,
the end of
this is so fascinating because your story is so different to what I usually hear also about the journey to becoming the artist. But do you think the fact that you that there was not a lot of pressure on you really, because you made the decisions to take music as almost on the side, and then your other subjects. But do you think in that way the fact that there was no pressure on you to really just study music all the time, that also brought something else with, that enhanced you as an artist?
I would think so. I don't know. Yeah, I mean the pressure, because I've always been varied. I've always been wanting to do many different things. As I said, in high school, doing these different sports, and I remembered adventurous in some ways. My friend brother Hugh gave me a typewriter, which was very rare at that time. Said, "Here's a typewriter, you can do your schoolwork on it." So I was so adventurous that I did my chemistry, assignment with the typewriter. And so, this is not something you usually do because you're doing a lot of different elements and whatnot, Na for sodium and whatnot. And so the teacher in chemistry says, I never had anyone do this assignment, a typewriter and putting these things together. I thought, well, it seemed to be something I had on hand, and I was going to use it to the best of my ability. So that kind of the expansion of different things sometimes was to my detriment, but also to my benefit, that I would find things that would help me connect one thing to the other. And I became very analytical. When I was leaving the high school, the counselor said to me, he says, "You tested very high in mechanical reasoning, and so I think you would be a good engineer." I said, "Oh, that's a possibility." But I'm interested. I'm entering the seminary, so I don't think anything that would work so well. But that was a good observation. It was good testing because, in essence, I am very analytical. I analyze my music quite extensively. I put my music on software, and I find different ways to do the solfeggio. I said my teacher, who was the piano teacher, who did the very extensive creations of the composition. I had her for sight singing. So we're in the sight singing, and I'm starting out with solfeggio, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa. And so I was missing some of the pitches because I was concentrating on the syllables. That sense of, oh, you're concentrating on one thing, but you're not getting the other thing. Look at the notes and just sing them. Ah, I was not doing that. So she said, maybe the syllables are holding you back. Maybe you shouldn't try to use them. I didn't listen to her. I continued to work on those syllables. And I think that for those, I was able to do at La Scala, say Rossini and Handel, because I would use solfeggio. I would break them down and make sure I could sing all of the arias and whatnot. They're very difficult with solfege syllables. And that helped me then to make sure everything was very accurate. And other things I've done rhythmically also too, because I told you, the second teacher said you have to work on your musicianship if you're going to be a professional singer, and I realized that I had to continue to work on it, and so this is the path that I took. So I think yes, the broadening or the broader areas of sociology and the ministry and some of the Latin helped my Italian, it helped my French, helped whenever I sang in Spanish on stage as well, and a couple of operas. So those romance music helped, and also took German at St. Joseph's College with Father Gerlach before I left, and so that was quite an experience, at least to have those many languages before I went into graduate school.
So when was the final decision that you're not going in the ministry?
It would have been going into the summer before my junior year that I decided that was not quite finding the right path. Many of the seminarians were from a high school seminary. They had spent already 4 years in the program, and now they're in college. And in college, now they wanted more freedom. They said, "Oh, we came into high school. We had to do math. It was obligatory. We didn't have the possibility of doing. Maybe we have an option today. We won't do mass. Maybe we do morning prayer, but not do night prayer." And so this was incredibly shocking to me, because I wanted almost a monastery. Before I entered the seminary, before I left high school, there was also a recruiter for West Point. This is a military, academy in the United States.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Many the generals and many some like Eisenhower, some presidents went to West Point, and so I had to make the decision between the military and maybe the ministry. My father had served in the military. My oldest brother, had served in Vietnam in the military. So for me, that was a difficult point. And again, that discipline was what I was looking for. And in a monastery type atmosphere, I was wanting that for a seminary. And that wasn't what they were doing. It was a modern seminary. Maybe you make some choices for yourself. You find your way by yourself. There is a spiritual counselor. And I was a bit, not necessarily maybe as honest with him about what the struggles were that I was going through. And so we had some difficulty in connecting that way. I still feel a connection with many of the people in the order that I studied under. And maybe I'm more religious in some ways, or at least spiritual, than my family as far as religion, I think, because we were all born, my six, all of us all together, three boys and three girls. We were all. My mother wanted all of us to be educated in Catholic schools. She converted to Catholicism when she was married, and my father never quite made the transition. He was supposed to, do the instructions, and he never quite followed through. So this is the basis of many of the things that I'm still doing, I think. And I think it's still important, spirituality in my life. The characters, the opera roles that have been spiritually connected have been more enhanced and profound because of that reason. So I did.
I can imagine, that you can, in a way, portray them in a different way because of the background you have.
I think so, yeah. Johannan also, I did the Scala and the Berlin Staatsoper. I did also. So I sang it for Barenboim, Daniel Barenboim. I think also with the Wotan, the Abendlich I did for him, and he liked so much, but he also had me sing then Johannan at the Berlin Staatsoper. So it was quite important, to have the connections of these people, and the connection with the spirituality of the character of John the Baptist, and I sang Zachariah as well in Nabucco, but I've also sung Nabucco now, and so the double roles in many operas. The first time I sang Zuniga in Carmen, I think it would have been maybe just before I did my first Escamillo. I did Escamillo at Chicago Lyric with Tony Papano conducting student performances there. But I had just done Zuniga in San Diego Opera, and Johannan. I did it La Scala for my first time. But before I sang it, I have the DVD here. There was a Bariton bass, Polish, that could not quite sing the top F sharps for the second Nazarene, and so they said, "Would you consider, because we're doing a televised of this production, and we have maybe 5 performances on television, could you do the first 5 performances as the second Nazarene?" I said, "Oh, I sure I could learn it, yeah." So I learned it, and the coach James Vaughn at La Scala, he said, we went to a practice room and said, "Okay, here it is." I said, you kind of hear it a little bit as you're singing Johannan, because it's on around the same time, So I practiced it. They said nothing to me. It's one of those situations where they said, "Oh, we might have you do it. Oh, please, could you learn it?" And then they said nothing. For 2 weeks, they say nothing. Then they finally said, "Oh, today we're going to do it. we're going to have you sing it. We're going to have sing on stage with an invited audience, with the orchestra, with the costumes, and then yes, and we'll have
Wow.
blocking. A couple of hours before you do the blocking, you know how you walk around and you do it. So is that possible? I said, sure, let's do it. So I've made no mistakes whatsoever. They thought, oh my gosh, you
Really?
genius. How do you do this? It was not genius. It's just because I went through it every day on my own to make sure that I would be ready in case I had to do it. So the DVD I have with Nadia Michael singing, Salome and Frauke Stuckmann, I was his cover, and I also sang 2 performances at Johanna myself. And so, but before it, I did a second Nazareno. So I have the DVD of singing from La Scala with the second Nazareno, which is
Amazing.
quite.
Amazing that you could do it, and with such short notice also.
Yeah, I think so. They asked me then to come back to La Scala for a fortnight of all arias, all roles, very contemporary roles, very difficult roles, because, Listener was the intendant at the time. So we'll give him a title role, sure, because he's done so many good things. So I had me come in, and it was a very extremely difficult because they have long portions of Il Prigioniero della Piccola, Wozzeck. They wanted me to look at Wozzeck. They wanted me to look at this Blaubart, which would be the Bluebeard's Castle, and is Hungarian. So this was. I'm up till 4 a.m. every morning learning these big sections of this music and not getting as far as I need to be because I take pieces and I break them down and I analyze them and I come back, but I don't just look at things and become, oh my gosh, I know this, I can do it. It's only that I do it on my. So I don't think they understood that. They understand when you perform things really well, they think, oh, you must be incredibly brilliant. You put it in front of you and you go on stage and you do it. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. For me, I break into words, I break into music, I break into rhythms. So I do a different process and then I put them all together for myself. And I think they're quite accurate and quite impressive when they're done. But it's a process. It's not. It's not, as you said, you would think, oh, you're brilliant. Because I know sometimes the German mentality is that if you know it, if you really know it, you can produce it right away in front of us. Then you know it. If you have to find out ways to learn it, then you don't really know it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I've encountered that in some situations. But I said, for me, no, I have to analyze it, and then I bring it together, and then it can be very, such as Stanislavski, putting the acting together, use the nouns, he talked about the mountains and whatnot. So I put those into my words. I put double underlines under my nouns, a single under the pronouns. I highlight in italics the verbs and the prepositions, and sometimes, the adverbs. And so all of those things, but then I diagram the sentences as well, and then I sing them through in solfeggio. So the metronome clicking and melodica.
Amazing.
I have playing. I play the melodica a little bit so I can hear the tunes. So it's quite complicated. I mean, I remember listening to Roger Federer talk about his problem sometimes on the tennis court, because I play tennis. And he says, because I have so many things that I can do, sometimes I get confused as to which one I'm going to use at what time. So that's the only decision. Do I use the backhand down the line? Do I do it from the cross court? What do I do? So sometimes I think with all the techniques that I put together, I have to figure out which ones to do for which situation. And so that becomes a difficult thing. It's not what you can do. What you don't know how to do anything, but you try to figure out what is the right thing to do at the right time.
But but for you, you travel all over the world and you sing all over the world. So how difficult is it to adjust to all these different theaters and different audiences and different colleagues that you work with?
Yeah, well, the experiences that I had when I was coming up, say the first one when I took a flight, I think I took a flight in graduate school. So I may be already 23, 24. The first time I flew into West Virginia, I think there was from Indiana University to the Metropolitan Opera, what would be a district competition, and they put me to a regional that I went to West Virginia. So I had to fly Bloomington, West Virginia. It's a short trip, basically. And then my second trip would have been to Washington, D.C., where I did a competition for a recital competition. Wonderful, judges were a part of that. And then I went to Vienna because I was I saw in the music school in Vienna a little notice and saying, we'll send your material to the Vienna Staatsoper because they will have in the program the ensemble for people, students are becoming almost professionals. And so I entered, I sent them the tape, and they said, oh, wonderful. Now we want you to come to Vienna and sing for the Staatsoper, the ensemble. So this was my first big trip, first time in Europe. And I took the trip. I won a second prize in Washington on my way, which gave me $1,000. And I just kept going to Vienna. And going through the stage door, I saw James King. He said, oh, you're American, you're here? I said, yes, I'm here for the Staatsoper program, the ensemble. He said, oh, well, do you have a place to stay? Do you know where you're doing? I know nothing. I had my bags at the door. So he took me over to the Hotel Sacher, which, I could only afford for maybe, less than a week. Then I had to move somewhere else. But this was my beginning, and I sang
amazing
for them. And they said, well, it's good. It's a good audition. Come back now and sing for Mazel on the stage. Because you need to go to the next round. I said, but I just sold all my belongings, my refrigerator, $40. I sold to Nicola Roslemeni. He said, "Oh, I buy the refrigerator." He was so impressed that I was selling everything I had to get to Vienna, and so they did that audition, and then they didn't call me back, and so I went I went to Santa Fe, and I had apprenticeship that summer. And Matthew Epstein, who was the head of Academy at one time, he said, well, listen, if they don't call you, I can send you to the finals of Chicago Lyric, and maybe you get into the ensemble of the Lyric Opera Chicago and start your career from there. So I did this from Santa Fe. I went to Chicago. I sang them. They said, great, we will take you. And
amazing.
So this is what all these singers that I then sang next to with Mirella Freni and Nikolai Gyarov. I did my first opera was Evgeny Onegin, Eugene Onegin. And so I sang the Zaretsky. It was the small, small lines. But Gyarov, I covered him singing Gremin. And I'm watching Mirella Freni do her first Tatiana, asking Gyarov about the Russian, Nikolai, come si pronuncia questa parola? So she'd go through and figure out how she was going to say, this is how you learn the roles. She was fantastic. I was watching her. And Joan Sutherland also sang on stage with her.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Brother Rochford, So I came out, she says, Chelsea, she's walking out. And I sang my first line, and she did the head to the side and gave a nod. So that's a voice. Oh, I thought, oh my gosh, I've arrived. But one more rehearsal after that. She had the long train, and she was walking out, and I stepped on it, and her head popped back. And I said, "Oh my gosh, my career's over. I've just that train, the veil of Joan Sutherland." And she looked and she just laughed.
Okay. But how amazing that the paths again, took you to the right place. So you ended up being at the right place. But have you been back to Vienna?
Yes, I went back. I did the Amanazro in 2011. So because Aida then became very big, I sang it I had sung it just before that at La Scala, because Barenboim wanted me to sing a performance. He says, "Oh, you're covering." I was covering Juan Pons. Juan Pons was doing the most of the performances, all of them. I think in the contract it said cover and maybe. So Barenboim said, "Oh, you will do one performance," and he conducted. So I did La Scala with him at the Vienna Staatsoper. I think it was a Wiederaufnahme. So it was already something done. Okay. It was more time rehearsing than any time, because usually he said, Vienna, you do a few days, and the next thing you say, okay, there's a stage, go. But this was almost 2 weeks of preparation, which was pretty nice. But I love
the fact that you that you sold everything and you absolutely came in faith. But yeah, but still, it's such a great story because it's sometimes the things that you have to do.
Right, and it came back though, but it's almost an incredible ending to it, because when I sang the Johanna, my second one, my own, after I did the first, second Nazarene, Lorne Mazel came backstage at La Scala to congratulate me. He says, "This great job, I love," because he wanted someone to sing in his opera in 1984, which he had done at Covent Garden, I think, and they were doing it then at La Scala. I think the first time at La Scala. It's probably after, yeah. So. It is a role called the Charrington. It has a low range, high range. It's really bass and baritone. So I think he wanted me to sing that one, and I did. I mean, this was the time when I was going to learn all the different roles for the Scala, and that was one of them. And so
Okay.
it was the one that they gave me because it worked. They also gave me Proust in the Macropolis case, so the Czech. I did that at La Scala. Not necessarily that the lead, the title roles, but at least those are nice. So I sang that for Mazel, and they contracted me. And then they did a lot of changes at the last minute at La Scala, which they were used to doing. I think Muti, when he was there, they would say, "Okay, I don't know if I like the singer so much. Let's change him for opening night." And so it's like they're in shock because they're programming and they have family to come, and next thing you know, they're saying, "No, you will not sing tonight." They were doing this for 1984, maybe with Mazel's.
Really?
Well, they said, "We don't like the sound so much. We're going to have somebody else sing it. We don't know if you will sing it at all." Not for me. He was pleased with the way I was singing the part. So we would step in and wait for people who would come in for the quick, changes. You have to sing a little bit maybe to help them out. So would they know exactly what they have to do? If they're reviewing, they've maybe done it in previous, say at the Covent Garden. So I'm sitting there next to Mazel, and I said, I was supposed to sing for you 25 years ago at the Vienna State Opera.
Really?
And he says, "Oh, I think I remember something like that." I don't know. Come on, he had an amazing memory, but I thought, come on, do you really remember that this little kid there waiting to sing for the Vienna State Opera?
Yeah.
He said, "I think I remember something like that." It's okay. So
Amazing. Can you believe it? Yeah.
yeah. So this was the round with the
Yeah. Full circle you went.
yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. But Mark, let's talk about your recording, the Grammy Award winning recording that you did. That must be a great award to receive.
It was, yeah. I mean, I was in London, maybe in Glyndebourne. I was singing Sarastro. I think if I had gone to the first speaker, the Sprecher, I'd done many things in the Zauberflöte. So it was, I think it was maybe the first year, 1990, I think. So yeah, I was there, and they said, "Could you come to London and record this?" It's only two pages of the High Priest in the Semele. And so I did this, and I had sung in school with Sylvie McNair, who was also on the recording, and Kathy Battle is the first time I met Kathy Battle. Sam Raimi, I had actually covered him a couple of times, I think at Chicago Lyric, or maybe before or after, I don't know, but I came to know him. So he's on the recording, and then Marilyn Horne, yes. So the first thing I did at Lyric Opera Chicago was a concert of Rinaldo, and I sang the first, I think the Messenger. So I announced Sam Raimi singing the Si Vila Letto, So this was the first time I would have met Marilyn Horne. So I knew them, in that way, somewhat closer than just listening to recordings. And so, yeah, it became, and John Nelson, I had only gone to Indianapolis because he was a conductor at Indianapolis Symphony. And I remembered he's very spiritual. He was a devout Catholic. And so I remembered that. And so, yeah, I mean, there's the good things and the bad things. When I first walked in the studio, this is my first ever recording. And so John Nelson is looking at me. He says, "Oh, you're singing this Messenger. Could you do a little embellishment here and maybe an embellishment there?" I think, what? I'm walking in the studio to record, and you want me to maybe just up with some things? I think, So I know. He said, no, okay, just sing it sort of as is, like this, okay. But I'd done Messiah and other things with a lot of different embellishments, so it wasn't impossible. I think later on he thought maybe I was not able to do it, so I had to convince him. And then I did finally with him in Costa Rica. I did the St. John Passion, Bach. So
Oh,
it was, but years after, I had to write him a note, St. John. I do a lot of variations, embellishments, but I was a little bit freaked out when you asked me
oh,
this.
okay. Yeah.
So I think we finally fixed that sort of relationship, and we had a good time. But this was a recording that was later on. They gave me an announcement. Oh, you are nominated for a Grammy. I thought, oh, nomination, fine. And then I said, oh, you have won with the rest of the cast the Grammy on this.
Amazing.
Would you
And
like
this
to
is
have?
your first. This is your first recording.
It was first recording, with the Deutsche Grammophon, and it was any type of recording, I think. So yeah, they wanted to know if I would want the award presented to me at an opera that was singing or something, and I think I had just gotten a new agent, so they didn't know what to do with that request. Oh, we don't know if we can do it. It's kind of last minute, maybe, and so they just sent it to me in the mail, and so I have it. It's in Toronto right now.
Okay.
Shelf,
But you have it. You have it. That's great. Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
And, this.
But Mark, amazing all the things you've done, and your story is incredible. It's really so interesting, and it just shows you had to be there. You had to be here where you are now, because it just all the paths just led you to be the singer. But what is still the wishes for you for the future?
Well, I don't know. I mean, after I did the Johannan at the Scala, I thought, well, now I could die because I've
No.
accomplished. Please, I mean, I thought, but I mean, there were other goals. Because my first contract was at the Metropolitan Opera. I flew from Chicago Lyric in January 1986 to go to the Metropolitan Opera to start the cover of the part of Manoah in Samson. This is Handel's Samson. And so this was quite. I mean, I haven't actually had the debut to sing at the Metropolitan Opera, but I had the cover contract and I was on the roster. And this is the first basically professional contract after my ensemble in Chicago.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it takes away some of the luster of, maybe I come back and do something. But, it's always been nice to do something else there. They asked me to do Spada Fucile, but I was in Chicago doing 3 roles that were, I thought, important. Jake Wallace in La Fanciulla. I did Hercule in Alsace with Jesse Norman. The Jake Wallace was with Placido Domingo. And I did my first Johannan Escamillo with Papano. So those kind of 3 things were there. And I have a family connection. I thought I should continue. So, but I covered Johannan in 2008 at the Metropolitan Opera. And so, that would have been a good time to go on. So again, something that's been done maybe would still come up and be a role that they would like me to do. Otherwise, the Paris Opera offered me, I think, the Night Watchman in what is it, the Meistersinger. And so I thought, but I had something else to do. And so I can't do this, starting. So basically, those are the 2 other opera companies that I have not sung. I've sung San Francisco, Chicago, La Scala, Garden, the Vienna Staatsoper. And so, those 2 kind of sit there in some ways. Even to do anything almost would be nice. But and all the orchestras have been quite good. The New York Philharmonic Players that I just did at Lincoln Center was exciting because it had that connection to Geffen Hall, where the New York Philharmonic plays. And Cleveland Orchestra, I sang with Robert Shaw at the Verdi Requiem, some elite members of the Cleveland Orchestra. So obviously the orchestra still in Europe, the Berlin Philharmonic, the Vienna Philharmonic. I mean, these are ideal sort of things, because you come up learning them. Leonard Bernstein, I remember, was at Indiana University before I left. I saw him in the hallways, and I would think, oh my gosh, there's the maestro. And, but this is as close as I would have got to some of those. Riccardo Muti, I did my Carnegie Hall debut doing the Bruckner Te Deum. So, that's sort of checked that one off the box. The box was checked. And he was quite the musician, and the Philadelphia Orchestra he was leading at the time were amazing players. It was an amazing orchestra. So, yeah, I mean, 103 or so roles that I've learned on stage with bass and baritone, and maybe 32 oratorio parts, Elijah and Messiah and Verdi Requiem. So, I mean, I never want to stop to keep learning more and more roles, and hopefully to perform the ones that I've already learned and performed. That's a goal, to get at least three. You do something very difficult. The new opera, The Time of Our Singing, which won the award for the new opera of 22, I think it was 2022. We will do again at La Monnaie in Brussels coming up this fall. Okay. And so it'll be the third time, because we did the first one, and then we went to St. Gallen and did the second run, and now we'll do again in Brussels. So 3 is always a nice time when you do a new opera. You think, well, I want to get something out of this more than just do it one time and then never sing it again, because sometimes it's a lot of work to do it. Yeah, new role, a new opera. So I'm looking forward to that. And the Paul Robeson concert I did at the Lincoln Center, we will do again this fall at the Peekskills in Cortland, where Paul Robeson with a huge open air audience sang these concerts. And
oh wow, beautiful.
There's a lot of controversy, a lot of people protesting, because I think it was after the communist scare that they whatever, the scandal with McCarthy and whatnot. So and also the Ku Klux Klan, and it was racial things that were all. So it's important then to continue letting people know about his legacy, because so much was blotted out from him after the communist smear. And I would say we have things with Russia now, and so to try to make it understood that it's not the Russian people that we are trying to criticize and to punish. It is certainly Putin and his ideas are crazy, but the people that are really honest and good people, good Russian people, want to still support them, I think. So.
And also it's a great way always to see how art can be above that, and
exactly, yeah,
and how artists come together, and it's really something that's so encouraging.
Right. Yeah.
But Mark, I really hope to see you in Vienna soon.
Yes, but
I hope you come. Yeah, you please let me know when you're here.
I will,
and when
definitely.
you come again, and when you come to sing. I would so love to see you at the Staatsoper.
It would be a pleasure, definitely. I will keep working at it for sure.
Okay. But thank you so much for your time and your wonderful story, and for sharing it with me.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it, Petra. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure. And enjoy the lovely day and the sunshine. It's cold in Vienna at the moment, so I'm envious. Yeah.
A little cool still, even though the sun is shining, but it's fine. It's a little bit, maybe I hit the tennis ball or something. It'd be very nice.
Is it? Oh, do you still play tennis?
I still play tennis. I have my little tennis, my rackets. I have 3 with me here, and my little string that hits. I can hit on the string over and over again, and go to the park and machines and all kinds of different learning things that I have that I enjoy.
Amazing that you still do that. Yeah.
There's a maestro in Chicago, Stanley Sperber. He is actually from Tel Aviv, but he does the Messiah, and he's an international tennis judge. So and then the judge, what are the chair umpire? He's an umpire.
Yeah, umpire.
Card. He says, "Here's my card." So he's a conductor and a tennis umpire, and so it's quite interesting to play tennis with him when we were Messiah together. So it's
how incredible. And you wouldn't expect to see that on a tennis court, would you?
Yeah. Funny.
Well, Mark, enjoy the rest of your day, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.